Hi everyone, it's Michelle. Welcome back. So today I thought I would do a little bit of a book video for you guys. I've not done one of these for a very long time. So I just picked a couple books that I read in the recent past that I really enjoyed that I thought I would share with you. So without further ado, let's jump in and get started. And I will try to do these book reviews on a more regular basis for you guys. Even if I'm only sharing a couple of books with you. Also, some of the books I'm going to share with you today, I listened to and didn't read, so I don't have the book in front of me, but I will put a picture in of the book or whatever so you can see it. But in no particular order, I'm going to share them. So the first one is The Little French Bistro, and this is a book by Nina George, who also wrote the Little Paris Bookshop, which I'm pretty sure I shared with you last year or before that. And that was a great book too. So I thought The Little French Bistro would be good as well. So I'll read a little bit and then tell you what I thought. Marianne is stuck in a loveless, unhappy marriage. After 41 years, she has reached her limit, and one evening in Paris, she decides to take action. Following a dramatic moment on the banks of the Seine, you guys know I love anything set in Paris. Marianne leaves her life behind and sets out for the coast. She finds herself in Brittany, the northwest part of France, also known as the end of the world. Basically, she is going there to kill herself because she hates her life, she hates her husband, blah, blah, blah. And she gets sort of swept up in her life there. And so every day she kind of postpones what she's going to do. And this is a story then about what happens to her as she sort of gets engulfed in life there in this little seaside town. So this is a great book about, you know, someone who finds herself in a bad place, a bad marriage, you know, a bad situation, who decides to end it all and then gets sucked up into this other life. And during that process, kind of comes into her own and figures, you know, learns about the things that she loves or remembers some of the things that she loves and gets kind of sucked up into that. And it's sort of what happens to her in that little town and how she ends up there and, you know, that kind of thing. This is a great read. If you liked The Little Paris Bookshop, you will love this. It's a great story about, again, you know, a woman who is in a bad place and does some things to get herself out of there and ends up in a much better place than she was before. This is a cute story. If you're looking, it's a light read. It's not, you know, it's not earth-shattering. It's somewhat predictable, I guess, but I love anything set in Paris or in France. I love when it involves the French and to have a little romance in there as well. I loved it. It was a great book. I highly recommend it. Okay, the next one is a complete departure from that. I read The Woman in the Window. This is a book I got from Book of the Month, which I'm a member of Book of the Month. It's a subscription service where every month you get to pick from a few books that they are going to send that month, and you pick one of them. I think it's $15 and you get it, but you get to pick from a few. I love it because it introduces you to books maybe you wouldn't have thought about reading or you wouldn't have seen in a bookstore to read sort of the cover to get drawn into. And I have to say that almost every book that I've chosen from Book of the Month Club, I've really enjoyed, and this was no exception. So, what is it about? And the little blurb on the inside says, it isn't paranoia if it's really happening, which is sort of an indication. So, Anna Fox, I love that name too. Anna Fox lives alone, a recluse in her New York City home, unable to venture outside. She spends her days drinking wine, maybe too much, watching old movies, recalling happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way, a father, a mother, their teenage son, the perfect family. But when Anna, gazing out her window one night, sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble and its shocking secrets are laid bare. What is real? What is imagined? Who is in danger? Who is in control? In this diabolically gripping thriller, no one and nothing is what it seems. Twisting, powerful, ingenious, and moving. And then it goes on, but this is a psychological thriller. There are a lot of twists and turns in this book. there are a lot of, is that really what's happening in this book? So Anna is a drunk. She is a recluse. She cannot leave her home. She's terrified to leave her home. You get introduced to her family, her husband and her daughter. You get introduced to the family who moved in across the street. You get introduced to, there's a person living in her renting her basement space. There's someone living there. This convoluted group of characters, lots of dysfunction, lots of crazy stuff happening. She is also addicted to watching old movies, and so part of that becomes part of the story. This was a great thriller. This was a hard to put down book for me because every time you thought you figured it out, it was sort of like, well, how could that be? So I enjoyed this. Somewhat, I kind of had a hint of things in the beginning, but definitely worth the read. AJ Finn, The Woman in the Window, loved. Yeah, I like psychological thrillers too. I like thrillers where, my problem with like murder mysteries and thrillers are if they're too predictable and I know what's coming, then I'm not interested and I don't want to read it. This one, the characters were so screwed up that you wanted to keep going to figure out what on earth, how did she end up like this? What's really happening? And so I was really drawn to that book and I loved it. So the next two books I'm going to talk about are both by Frederick Bachman, and he is the author who wrote A Man Called Uva, which I loved and I know I talked about here on this channel as well. So the first one I read was My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. I'm going to read you the blurb, and then I'm going to tell you how I felt about the book. Elsa is 7 years old and different. Her grandmother is a 77-year-old and crazy, as in standing on the balcony firing paintball guns at strangers crazy. She's also Elsa's best friend and only friend. At night, Elsa takes refuge in her grandmother's stories, in the land of Almost Awake and the kingdom of Miamis, where everyone is different and nobody needs to be normal. When Elsa's grandmother dies and leaves behind a series of letters apologizing to people she has wronged, Elsa's greatest adventure begins. Her grandmother's instructions lead her to an apartment building full of misfits, monsters, attack dogs, and old crones, but also to the truth about fairy tales and kingdoms and a grandmother like no other. My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She Is Sorry is told with the same comic accuracy and beating heart as A Man Called Uva. So if you liked that, you're going to love this. It is a story about life and death and one of the most important human rights, the right to be different. So this is a book about a young girl and her grandmother's relationship. And the young girl is very different, and so is the grandmother. So the grandmother, you know, in an effort to help Elsa feel better about herself and to develop self-confidence, she invents these sort of other worlds. The land of almost asleep. So right before you go to bed, you know, they had this ritual where there was like, you know, which wasn't like the real world, that included this world called Miamis, where you could be anything you wanted to be, and the grandmother was someone powerful and the little girl was different, and so the grandmother invents this world. Well, then the grandmother passes, which is not spoiling anything, and leaves this series of letters for Elsa to deliver to people, apologizing to the people. And during the process, Elsa gets to know the people, how the grandmother knew the people, and the reason that she is to take the letters to these people. And so throughout the process, you know, new characters come in. Elsa goes on this adventure to deliver these letters. She meets all kinds of people. There's a little bit of danger. There's a little bit of intrigue. You know, you get introduced to some very, very dysfunctional people, different people like Elsa. And, you know, there's a beast in there that is described as a beast the whole time. My thought process, well, it must be a dog. But, you know, Elsa it's some kind of beast, which is from their stories, right? And so the book is really, it's a great story that the little girl has to go through, and you learn about all the people in the book. And it really is about, you know, sort of teaches us not to judge others, because as they're described in the beginning, and then when you learn their story, you'll understand why they are the way they are. So it's a little bit about, you know, not judging others until you've walked in their shoes, or you know their story, or you know why they've ended up the way they are. Amazing story, amazing characters. I love how he writes. I love how creative he is. And you know, there's a lot of fairy tale in here, but there's nothing in here that's even magical realism or anything. It is a story. The fairy tales are sort of happening in the girl's head, like sort of the grandmother explained them to her. But it's a great story. A delectable homage to the power of stories to comfort and heal. It was just a great story. I highly recommend this. And if you are one of those people who are different, or you have a lot of different people in your life, this might be a great book for you to read. And again, it's about not judging others until you've walked in their shoes. So lastly, the last one I want to talk about is also by Frederick Bachman, and I listened to it, and the title of the book is called Britt Marie Was Here. And Britt Marie is one of the characters in this story. And so I highly recommend you read this first if you're going to read that, because not that you need to know this background about her, but it's nice to know who she was here, and then you can kind of understand who she is in the book about her. So let me get that. Okay, so I'm going to read a little blurb about what the book is about. So again, Britt Marie is a character from My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. So she returns with a heartwarming story about a woman rediscovering herself after a personal crisis. Britt Marie can't stand mess. A disorganized cutlery drawer ranks high on her list of unforgivable sins. She is not one to judge others, no matter how ill-mannered, unkept, or morally suspect they might be. It's just that sometimes people interpret her helpful suggestions as criticisms, which is certainly not her intention. But hidden inside the socially awkward, fussy busybody is a woman who has more imagination, bigger dreams, and a warm heart than anyone around her realizes. She walks out on her cheating husband and has to fend for herself in the miserable backwater town of Borg, is the name of the town she goes to, of which the kindest thing one can say is that it has a road going through it. So she finds work as a caretaker of a soon-to-be demolished rec center. And then she soon finds herself drawn into the people of that small town because the children come to the rec center, and then the children come to the rec center, so she kind of finds out who they are, and there's sort of one place in the town where you can get pizza and groceries and all that, and so when she goes in there to get some supplies, she meets sort of the people who live in the town, and then she gets sucked into the whole shenanigans of the town, and it's about kind of her figuring out, doing her best to, sort out the things in the town, because she doesn't like a mess, so she's going to try and fix some of the things, and in the process she figures out who she is, she figures out what she wants in her life, and kind of comes into her own as well. And it is really it is as good as this book was, I think. His ability to develop characters and make you care about even the most dysfunctional of characters is really, really great. And she certainly is very dysfunctional. She does not like mess, like it says. Like even when the cutlery drawer is out of place, she cannot handle that. She has to scrub everything, and she doesn't want anybody thinking she's a mess. So she's constantly taking care of everything beyond. She's constantly scrubbing everything with bicarbonate of soda. That's her thing. She'll only use one kind of window cleaner because it's the best, and so she's got this whole process. And she meets this group of kids who play football at the rec center, and she gets kind of drawn into their life and the life of the rest of the people in the town. And it's all around, the kids want to play in this football competition, but they can't because they don't have a coach. So they ask her to be their coach, and she doesn't know anything about it, but she wants to help them, so she does. And in the process, the whole town gets behind this little team of kids who can't really play because they don't have a coach. It's this woman who doesn't know how to coach, and it's like the whole process of how this one event, brings the town together, and how the people in the town help each other, and even when Britt Marie doesn't understand who's helping who, and how that's always how it's been, and then there's a little bit of a love triangle in there with her and someone in the town and her husband, and you know, she's got to make decisions, and but now she's come to care for these children as well, and she's learned to even like some of the unlikables in the town because she gets their story. Again, going back to, you know, don't judge people until you know their story. And so again, great book if you like those kind of character books. He is great at character development, and this was another one. The story is very interesting. You don't really know what's going to happen. You come to care about the people in the book through all the twists and turns that are happening. The book also shows that, you know, sometimes you can't change people, even though you want to, and you have to learn to accept that. And so there's a little bit of that in the book as well. Another great story. His books, like, I have enjoyed all of his books. I haven't read Beartown. I think that's the last of his full lengths. I read his novellas as well, which are also very good, but I like his longer stories because he has more time to develop characters, and I think that's his strong point, is character development and getting you to care about even the most flawed characters in his book. So Britt Marie was here. I would give it, I would definitely read it again, and I would give it, you know, 4 stars. If I had to talk about all of these books, 4 stars for sure. 4 out of 4. If I was doing a 4-star thing, I would give both of his books 4 stars. This, for me, is another 4-star read. And this, The Little French Bistro, I loved this book. It's probably 3.5 stars because it was predictable, but it was a great read, and you came to care about the characters and stuff. So I can highly recommend all of these books if you haven't read them. I really, really have enjoyed all of them, and I am going to read Beartown in the very near future from Frederick Bachman, just so I can have all of his books sort of under my belt, because I do think he's an amazing author when it comes to talking about character development. And Beartown is a story about a hockey team, which does not interest me at all, but they say that from everything I've read, it doesn't matter if you don't like hockey, that it's another one of those where you're gonna care about the characters in the book, so you'll want to keep reading it. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. I do still read a ton. I also listen to books every day. I think I've talked about this before. A lot of people ask me, you know, how I can read so much. And part of it is that I listen to audiobooks as well. I think that if you have a hard time finding time to sit down with a book, I think audiobooks are for you. And for those of you who don't know, there are plenty of apps where you can get books to listen to right on your phone. You don't have to, you know, be sitting anywhere in particular. So I will listen while I'm putting my makeup on. I will listen while I'm driving in my car. I will listen while I'm cooking dinner, or if I'm cleaning and, you know, it's not loud where I'm vacuuming or something, I will listen. And you can go through a lot of audiobooks just in the time that you're doing other things. And it is a great way to sort of distract yourself from the task at hand. And so I highly recommend that to people. And it's a great way, you know, to get yourself interested in reading again, because you don't have to necessarily sit down with a book if you're busy. You can just listen. I will tell you that people have asked me this too, I use Audible. Audible was where I started, but you don't have to use Audible. There are other services you can use. With Audible, you pay, I think I paid $22 a month, and I get 2 books to listen to. So they're about $11 a book. They have all the latest and greatest in the new books. And then if you want to listen to more than 2 books, you can buy additional books, and typically you can get 3 books for $33 or something like that. But then I discovered Auto Radio. For those of you, it's an app for the iPhone, I'm sure for all phones. And on Auto Radio, they also have lots and lots of books. Not as many as Audible does, but they do have a lot. And for $15.99 on Auto, you get one of the, what the heck are they called? One of the premium books and any of the others. So for $15.99, basically, you can listen to any book that's in here from them, as long as it's not premium. You get one premium a month and then any of the other ones. But there are a ton, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of other books in here that you can fit in that, let me see if I can tell you some of the ones I've listened to that fit in there. Hillbilly Elegy is one of the freebies. Hillary Rodham Clinton's What Happened, Before We Were Yours, Tribe of Mentors. I'm just naming the ones that are not. So Frederick Brockman's Beartown is one of them, so I'm going to listen to that here probably. Oprah's What I Know for Sure, Elizabeth Strout's Anything is Possible. There are just tons and tons and tons of books that fit in that other category. So for $15.99, basically you can listen all month long till your heart's content, because I'm sure you can find from the thousands and thousands of books, other books to listen to. So if you don't like to sit down and read, but you want to get into the story, then listen to it, because you have plenty of time where you're sitting in the car, or you're cleaning, or you're cooking, or doing all those other things, or walking. If you like to walk or exercise, you could do that certainly as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this helpful. It was great to be back talking about books. Again, I will try to do this at least once a month. Yeah, I think once a month, because I usually get through 4 or 5 books, and that's a good amount to be able to talk about. I'm probably rambling now because I talked about some other things, but that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you all again soon.